Guys! So about 2-ish weeks ago, give or take some days, I got on a plane to Boston and I flew all the way home to California to visit my family for the holidays. And while I was there, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be super, super productive. But then I actually got home and I spent approximately 98% of that trip either A, in bed, or B, on the couch. So as you can tell, I kept my promise. It was super productive. Anyway, near the end of the trip, I finally decided that enough was enough and I was going to accomplish at least one thing on my trip. And so I decided that one thing would be something that I've been wanting to do for the longest time, and that is start a YouTube channel. So I had actually planned to do this like a while back, and it was around back to school time. So I was going to do a kind of back to school supplies Crayola challenge, which I've seen around YouTube a couple of times. And since I already had that idea, I decided to just run with it. But my mom had returned the Crayola supplies that I bought months ago. And so I had to head down to Target. And here's the thing, you can never just go to Target. You have to go and buy 5,000 things. So of course we went and we did some returns, and then I got a Starbucks, and then we checked out the dollar section, and then I wandered aimlessly for a while, and then we bought about 500 shampoos. And then finally, at long last, we approached the aisle of dreams, the Crayola aisle. So I bought the stuff and now you're all caught up. If you haven't noticed, I started sketching, and this is in my Strathmore sketchbook. I think it's like a mixed media sketchbook. It's pretty nice, but it's not my favorite sketchbook. It's just one that I kind of do random doodles in, and I thought it would be perfect for Crayola because honestly, I had no idea how this was going to turn out. And I didn't show it on camera, but I initially kind of sketched things out roughly with a pencil, and then I used a kneaded eraser to lighten that. And now I'm actually going back in with a pencil to draw the lines. So at this point, I kind of have the general layout figured out, but it's just getting the anatomy right, deciding exactly how I want everything to look. So I'm going back and forth. I'm making the lines more clean. Just preparing it for painting later on. Honestly, I had a lot of fun with the sketch. It was a little rough at first because I hadn't drawn in a while, but by the time that I actually got it looking how I wanted, I was kind of sad that it had to be for the Crayola challenge because, I mean, no offense to Crayola. They're great, but it's Crayola. I'm just sketching. I am drawing Bowsette, which, if you have been living under a rock for some reason, it is the Princess Peach version of Bowser. And this is kind of based off of the crown that makes Toadette into Peachette. And I love it. I think this crown should make absolutely every single character into the Princess Peach version. I love Princess Peach. I always play Princess Peach in Smash Bros. Princess Peach is awesome. And everyone should be Princess Peachified. This has been my TED Talk. That being said, I am actually just about done with sketching, so you won't see this on camera, but I'm just going to go over everything with a kneaded eraser to lighten up the pencil, and then I'm going to retrace all my lines again, but this time with a red lead in my mechanical pencil, and this is because I personally think red lead shows up better under watercolor. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the paints. So this was interesting. As you can see, the colors I'm picking are not the colors that they look like in the pan. It is very misleading, and I'm testing it over on the side and trying to mix a skin color. And at first I was blown away. Damn, Crayola, you were doing a great job. For the first layer with a lighter skin, ooh, smooth, very nice. Sister snatched. Anyway, moving on. Here I'm doing the blushies, which is generally what I do. I alternate between putting it under the main face color and over. I don't know why. And I know human faces don't blush like that, but I don't care. And then I decide to fill in the blue without waiting for the skin to dry. And so it starts bleeding, and I quickly clean that up with a paper towel, as one does. and I just continued on with the skin. Honestly, there's nothing crazy to say about this part. The Crayola was working surprisingly well. No serious issues. All the issues were brought on by me and my inability to wait 5 seconds for watercolor to dry, which I later rectified not by waiting for my watercolor to dry, but by walking outside to the other main house, getting a hairdryer, bringing it back to my room, and then proceeding to use it. So that might make an appearance later in the video. I love hairdryers. I'm not sure if they're good for your paintings. Do not ask me. Ask Google. Google probably knows. I don't want to Google it because I want to continue to use hairdryers. So I don't want to know if it's bad for my paintings. That would make me sad. And that's that on that. So I am dipping into the colors, and I like to, when I mix skin colors, I make kind of an orangey color and then I dull it down using purple. Color theory, I think. Or just like complementary colors. I'm pretty sure you learned that in kindergarten. Very, very advanced. I am so advanced at watercolor, as you can tell. Honestly though, I feel like I have gotten a lot better at watercolor. I started a while ago, I learned watercolor when I was really little, but I wasn't very good at it. I was okay. And then it wasn't really my thing. I've never really been super into painting things that are look like watercolor, but then I started re-experimenting with it later. I think my sophomore year of college, and that's when I really got into painting more like flat layers and graphic watercolor, and I kind of decided that that's what I was going to do, and I really like watercolor now, and I have spent so much time painting that I actually think I've improved a lot since then. So it was really fun taking on this challenge. And right here, I am painting my favorite part, the lips. Yes, so beautiful, so luscious, so red. I love filling in lips. I love filling in eyeliner. I think it's just like putting makeup on a face. And I think makeup is just so much fun and so expressive, and I love makeup, but I don't usually wear it because I am very lazy and I wake up and then I'm just like, yeah. But all the respect to people who wake up early and do their makeup. That's amazing. I love you guys. And also to all the people who don't wake up early and don't put on makeup, because you guys are awesome too. Everyone is awesome. What is that Lego song? Everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. So I'm putting on her eyebrows. Yes. Look at that eyebrow pencil. You go, girl. And then I'm doing some shadows because, your girl needs to have the best contour. And for the lines here that I'm doing, I ended up, so this paint is watercolor, but it's Crayola watercolor, so it's not as pigmented as the one I usually use, and I usually line with watercolor. I know a lot of people use inks to line, but that's just not my thing. I like to use watercolor because I feel like you can mix very precise colors, and if I had a lot of inks that I could take out of pens, like the dip kind of inks that I could mix, then I think inks would be awesome. I could put them in pens and it would be really cool, but I do not have a bunch of inks, so I figure just line with watercolors. The ones I use usually are very pigmented, so it's amazing. But these, as you can guess, were not very pigmented, and so I ended up having to, I think I took the brown pen, the markers, fine tip markers, and then I scribbled on my watercolor palette thing. Totally forgot the name of that for like 5 seconds, and then I wet that and I added in, I think, some red and some purple or something. And because the markers are water soluble, in order to take them out of clothes of children, and also my clothes, and also everyone's clothes, they dissolve in water, which is great. And it means that you can actually paint with the markers. And it would be really cool to redo this challenge, but only use markers. So maybe in the future, who knows? But yeah, using that brown marker allowed me to really get it a lot darker because it was a very dark brown. I tried using the black, but the black just kind of turned bluey And then when I moved on to the eyelashes, I decided that I was just going to use the pen straight up. And yeah, it worked fine. It wasn't the exact black I want, honestly. I prefer a more rich black, and this black was very kind of sheer and blue-like, but it was fine. Everything was great. And I say was because I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, this is where it kind of starts getting a little messy, like it's going away from my vision. So I'm doing the bottom, and I'm just using brown, and I think I wanted initially to do like thin eyelashes, but I allowed myself to use one other tool that was not Crayola, and it was my white acrylic pen, and you'll see that later on, but I did not use my beautiful, super fine pen that I like to use for bottom eyelashes, and so they ended up getting kind of black, and she ended up kind of with smoky eyes, which I worked with. I definitely think I kind of sort of made it work. Yeah, that went from very confident to very not confident very fast. I quickly discovered that the water solubleness of the markers, which I was super happy when it came to lining, was also kind of a double-edged sword because when I tried to fix up the eyes, stuff just started smudging everywhere and her smoky eye grew. Yeah, so I went back to lining, and that was pretty standard. Some red, some brown, some blue, some purple, etc., etc. Lining the lips, making them nice and defined, adding some fangs, because I think some of the designs gave Bowsette fangs. I don't really know. I had a bunch of reference images. Yeah, and so at this point, I remember thinking, you know what? You're going to really regret the fact that you are putting in all of these lines. And, well, we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. The thing is, I was really worried because if I have these lines in, and now, as you see, as I'm trying to put in like a wash of hair, I'm touching things like the black and the lines that I put in, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have done that already. But I get overly excited, and I really like to finish the face, and I completely ignore the rules of watercolor, which are always work light to dark. And since I want to finish the face and I want to do the lines, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And then I try to put in other things like this light hair nearby, and I get really sad because things start bleeding and it just gets messy. And you would think after making this mistake so many times, and even I was like, maybe I shouldn't do it, but I did it anyway. Habit, maybe. Impatience, probably. Either way, there was nothing I could really change at this point, so I kind of just moved forward, even though I knew stuff was going to bleed, and I was like, okay, where it's bleeding with the little eyelash on the right side, yeah, I think we're looking at this the same way. So on the right side, where it goes over off the face, it's going to bleed a lot, and so I was like, okay, I'll put a shadow there, I'll just get the hair very dark, and no problem, totally fix it. So I just continue filling in the hair, and it's going good. I really like the color I got for the hair. It's a very pretty yellowy, golden, blonde color. And blonde hair can honestly be really hard to paint. I feel like a lot of times it either turns out too brown or too yellow, like bright yellow. And bright yellow hair is fun, but it's not what I'm going for. I want like the golden, sun-kissed, just returned from the beach kind of hair. Yeah, you know the vibe I'm going for. To mix that, I think generally you want to get yellow, but you really want to tone it down. So maybe by putting in a little purple or like green, it makes it a bit more golden. I also have this really pretty pastel yellow color that I love for blonde hair, but I could not use it because it is my very nice expensive paints, and it is very much not Crayola. And, somewhat unfortunately, this was the Crayola challenge. So I went back to the hair and just darkening some areas. I can never decide exactly how I want to paint hair. I think I kind of have an idea of how I like to paint hair, but I think I change it every time I paint. Yeah, I see some artists who like create these beautiful glowy hair. And I don't know, I can't do that. I want to do that. Someone teach me how to do that. My hair just, it looks okay. I'm much happier with it than I used to be with my hair. It used to really suck. And now it's just like, okay, it's there. It's not my favorite part. Sometimes it turns out really nice, but other times I'm just like, So here's the thing. I tend to do my paintings in just like one sitting. I don't like getting up and coming back to it, and I'll talk to you in a second why I should like doing that. But since I don't, I was just getting very tired and I was like, I want to finish. I want to get it out of the way. I want to get to the part where I'm lining. So I was like, I'll just fill in all the big colory spaces. The Crayola was just being meh, and I wasn't living for it. And so, yeah, trying to get to the point where I can just do lines. Okay, so here's why you probably shouldn't do all of your paintings in one sitting. There are definitely times where you want to do a painting in one sitting. Like if it's a very small painting, then why not? And sometimes it's just easier to get in the zone and you'll keep your paints, maybe your paints will dry out or whatever. But a very good reason to not do your paints in just one sitting, or any drawing for that matter, is that, damn it, my rabbit, she's making noise. Earl, shh. So I put her on my bed. Maybe she'll be more quiet now. She is a little pest, but I love her. She's very sweet. And she wants me to continue telling you why it might be nice to take a break from your paintings. And that is because when you look away, then you come back, you have like a fresh set of eyes. You haven't been staring at the same piece forever. And so it really lets you figure out what your mistakes are, and it helps you create a better piece overall. I feel like a lot of my drawings where I actually end up having to take breaks and take time turn out a lot better, which is why I should really follow my own advice, and yet I do not. Yeah. Okay, so at this point in the drawing, it is time to do the black, and this is where everything starts to suck, because this black sucked. It got clumpy. It was just, not great. Not great at all, Crayola. I had such high hopes for you. And then you went and you blew it with the black. Am I disappointed? I mean, yeah, but I'm not surprised. Really, blacks are a hard color to get, and what did I expect from paints that costed me literally $2? You can kind of see it's streaky and clumpy and it does not layer, and yeah, it's not going good places. Not cute. Not cute at all. Yeah, so I kept working with it and I kept adding stuff, and here I'm kind of taking it back because I wanted the skirt to be a little bit lighter so that you could actually tell the skirt was there. And then I realized that I completely forgot to fill in the choker. So I went back and I filled in the choker, and knowing how this goes, I wasted a lot of time filling in all those little necklacey armband details, because in the end, I'm pretty sure I just took the black marker and went over it. And yeah, I'm using the black marker to do the lining right now. And I think the reason I initially didn't go with the black marker is because it is very blue, and then the paint in the palette is a bit more purple, red, warmer toned, but you do what you gotta do. And so I was using this to line everything, and then I was like, okay, well, this is a lot darker, so what if I just fill it in? And I was like, this could go either very good or very bad. I guess we'll just have to see. So I put it in and I wet it and I brought it down, and it was going okay, but it was kind of bluey, if you can tell. Yeah, right there, it's very bluey. So I started adding in more paint, and eventually it just kind of turned out okay. Like, not great, but pretty okay. I was surprised. I'm pretty sure it was a fluke. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. But I will say, it does show you that if you persevere, then maybe you will succeed. And our little friend, Mrs. Rabbit, is back here, being very interested in what I'm doing. Hopefully not running over my keyboard again. Not very fun, but Isn't she sweet? Yeah, she is. I'll put a picture, like right here-ish, on the screen so you can see my little baby girl. Yeah. So going in with that black, but the little like gem thing didn't turn out that great. I didn't have my gold paints and just not good. But we're gonna ignore that because it's not a big deal. I also used my white acrylic pen to go in and brighten up the little spikes. And then, yeah, more marker. And you can see what I'm talking about here because I went over everything with a black marker, completely defeating the purpose of me filling it in with the paints beforehand. But I guess I didn't know how it was going to perform, so, you know, is it 2020? Everything is clear in hindsight. Everything's 2020 in hindsight. Yes, I got it. Okay. Yeah, so I just Googled it, and the actual phrase is hindsight is 2020, so I did not get it, but I was very close. So A for effort. Back to the matter at hand. At this point, I decided that I could mix up a lining color using brown and some other colors and make the hair a bit more realistic, but then I'd have to do that. And so I decided not to do that, and I just used the brown to line it, and it was a bit dark, and it looked a little more cartoony, but I think it worked overall with the painting, especially with like the very dark bodice. Everything worked overall. And you know what? At this point, like, for Crayola, I was pretty happy with how it was turning out. I think that I was expecting a lot worse. I was expecting them to really suck. But, you know, this just kind of looks like an off-brand version of my normal drawings. Like, you know, if my normal drawings are maybe, oh, they're definitely not Gucci. But if they're like, I don't know, what's middle? If they're like Target, then this is like the dollar store, if you feel me on that. Yeah. But like the dollar store, it has some good stuff. There's a good reason. Sometimes you just need to go to the dollar store. Sometimes you need to buy Crayola from the dollar store. I didn't buy Crayola from the dollar store, but maybe you did. Anyway, I guess my overall takeaway from this whole thing was that you can make art with anything. You don't need expensive supplies. You can use a relatively cheap sketchbook, and I was actually using Daiso brushes, which is a Japanese dollar store. So I was also using very cheap brushes with my Crayola paints, and you know, I think my result was pretty cool. And you can make pretty cool stuff without breaking the bank. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video and seeing a bit of my painting process, even though it wasn't exactly a painting process video. It was more of a challenge video. I don't know. It was kind of in between because I filmed it and it wasn't like real time or anything. It was a time lapse. Let me know what you'd like to see on my channel, and hopefully I will post more in the future. Here's the finished product. Pretty neat, if I do say so myself. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help me. Thanks. See you guys soon.